Did you know that the fate of the Knights Templar, one of the most feared and secretive orders in medieval history, may have rested not in the hands of kings or popes, but a queen? She was called Joan I of Navarre, known to history as the Queen of the Shield, a title that, though shrouded in legend, carried truth at its heart. While men in armor fell to flame and steel, she stood between faith and extinction, between the fall of an empire and the birth of secrecy. In 1307, when King Philip IV of France unleashed his infamous purge against the Templars, Joan watched her world shift into chaos. What she did next would echo for centuries. This is not a story of swords and sieges alone, but of courage, exile, and survival hidden behind a crown. Because sometimes history's loudest heroes are its quietest. And beneath the golden veil of royalty, one woman shielded a fallen order from absolute annihilation. This is her story. The secret queen who kept the Templar fire alive, the Queen of the Shield. Born in 1273, Joan I of Navarre was no ordinary royal. She was queen in her own right, ruling the small but strategic kingdom nestled between France and Spain. Educated, fluent in politics, and fiercely independent, Joan inherited the crown from her father, King Henry I of Navarre, at the tender age of 13. She later married Philip IV of France, the same monarch who would one day destroy the Templar Order. But unlike his husband, Joan's loyalty to the Knights was unshaken. Her kingdom had long been a sanctuary for Templar holdings, estates, commanderies, and sacred relics that financed the Crusades. She saw them not as soldiers, but as protectors of faith and keepers of knowledge. Even as Philip's suspicion grew, Joan maintained her alliance with the Grand Master, Jacques de Molay. Letters from papal archives suggest that she offered counsel and perhaps a warning before the arrests of October 13, 1307. While Philip wielded power through fear, Joan wielded something greater: foresight. And foresight, as history would learn, could be the sharpest shield of all. Before we further proceed, I'd love to know where you're tuning in from tonight, whether it's the United States, Europe, Asia, or somewhere else across this vast and fascinating world. Drop your country, city, and local time in the comments below so we can see just how far our community reaches. And if you enjoy these journeys through time and untold stories, remember to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to join our growing storytelling family. Together, we'll wander through history, mystery, and memory. The night of Friday the 13th, 1307, remains one of history's darkest. By order of King Philip IV, hundreds of Templar knights across France were seized at dawn, accused of heresy, idolatry, and blasphemy. Their properties were confiscated, their leaders tortured into confession, their reputation shattered. But while Philip sought gold and control, others, like Queen Joan, saw the deeper crime, the destruction of a brotherhood bound by faith and oath. Rumors swirled that she secretly intervened, using her influence in Navarre to secure the release of Templar refugees. Chroniclers in the Chronica Novaya speak of mysterious ships departing from Bayonne and Pamplona, carrying the king's prisoners turned ghosts of the sea. Was it treasure they fled with, or knowledge? What is known is that while France burned with accusations, Navarre remained silent, untouched, unsearched. Joan had raised her shield, and behind it the exiled knights found refuge. Navarre's mountains, cloaked in mists and legends, became the Templars' final fortress. In valleys carved by rivers and faith, they built hidden chapels, their crosses etched into stone, invisible to the untrained eye. Joan is said to have authorized their presence under new guises: shepherds, monks, and stonemasons. Some joined the military orders of Calatrava and Santiago, blending into Spanish knightly ranks. Others vanished into the Pyrenees, where even royal messengers dared not go. In exchange for secrecy, the Templars swore allegiance to their queen, the woman they now called Regina Scuti, the Queen of the Shield. For Joan, this was not rebellion, it was redemption. She believed that faith could not be burned, nor honor chained. The Church had abandoned the Templars, but she would not. Within her realm, their vows endured, no longer as warriors, but as watchers, a silent order reborn under a woman's protection. While Philip IV's spies scoured France, a quiet network stretched south, linking Navarre to Aragon, Portugal, and even Scotland. These routes were not drawn on maps, but written in memory and blood. Joan's diplomats disguised their movements as trade envoys. Her scribes encoded messages in legal decrees. Historians have uncovered records in Pamplona Cathedral that suggest certain military assets were transferred under the Queen's seal in 1308. The names are missing, the recipients unknown. But the timing aligns perfectly with the exodus of surviving Templars. Through Joan's hand, they found passage and purpose. While the world cursed their name, she gave them a new one. A brotherhood without banners, a faith without form. And though their swords slept, their vows did not. The Queen had built them a second temple, one of silence and loyalty. In 1312, under immense royal pressure, Pope Clement V officially dissolved the Templar Order. 2 years later, the Grand Master, Jacques de Molay, was burned at the stake, proclaiming his innocence and calling his enemies to divine judgment. As the flames consumed him, Paris fell silent, and witnesses claimed a shadowed figure watched from a balcony veiled in mourning. Some say it was Joan herself. That night she withdrew from court life, retreating to her estates in Champagne. Her correspondence grew cryptic, her seal replaced by one never seen before. A crowned shield crossed with a faint red sword. She was no longer just queen of a land, but guardian of a legacy. Historians still debate her motives: piety, defiance, or love. But one thing is certain: Joan never condemned the Templars. She preserved their honor long after the Church had erased their name. Philip IV died suddenly in 1314, just months after de Molay's execution, fulfilling the Grand Master's fiery curse. His sons would rule briefly, but their reigns would crumble under scandal and unrest. Joan, however, outlived them all. She reigned in quiet dignity, her court reduced, but her influence undimmed. From her chambers, she oversaw charitable works, rebuilt monasteries, and funded pilgrimages to Jerusalem. Many of these endowments were registered under cryptic names referencing the shield and the cross. Was this code or memory? She never remarried, never spoke of the Templars again in public, yet their emblem adorned her private chapel. By the time of her death in 1305, Her shield had become a symbol of silent defiance. To the Church, she was a queen of virtue. To the exiled Templars, she was their last sovereign. Centuries later, travelers in the Pyrenees spoke of hermits who bore strange red crosses on their cloaks. They guarded mountain shrines with secrecy and reverence, claiming descent from a forgotten order. One tale tells of a silver shield engraved with a woman's face hidden in a chapel near Roncesvalles. Local monks called her La Reina del Escudo, the Queen of the Shield. Was it a relic from Joan's court, or a myth born from longing for justice? Archaeological digs in the region have uncovered medieval insignia matching 14th century Templar iconography. Though no official link has been proven, the timing and location are uncanny. It seems that even in death, Joan's protection extended beyond the grave. Her shield was not made of metal, but of remembrance. Whispers persist of a Templar lineage surviving through Navarre's nobility. Some genealogical studies trace connections between Joan's household retainers and later families involved in early Freemasonry. One 15th century manuscript from Toledo describes a woman of the shield who bore the mark of the temple on her sons. Could the Queen of Navarre have harbored more than exiles, perhaps heirs of a sacred tradition? It's a tantalizing theory that blends myth with ancestry. Her descendants ruled both Navarre and parts of France, influencing the dynasties that would shape Europe. If true, her act of mercy reshaped history in silence. The Templar flame did not die, it changed hands. Through her blood, the knight's ideals, faith, honor, knowledge, may have survived. And if their legacy endured through her line, the Queen of the Shield was more than a savior. She was the mother of their rebirth. Among Joan's surviving documents lies a peculiar symbol: two overlapping shields forming a cross. Cryptographers believe it encodes a message of unity between temporal and spiritual power, the same balance the Templars once sought. Her motto, In silencio lux, meaning in silence there is light, appears on several of her later charters. To some, this was mere piety. To others, it was a veiled declaration of the Templar Creed reborn. Throughout history, similar phrases appear in esoteric texts, even in Masonic traditions centuries later. Did they inherit her wisdom unknowingly, or by design? Every symbol has a lineage, and every queen leaves a signature. Her code, buried in ink and wax, may have been the blueprint for a secret order that transcended kingdoms. The Templars once guarded a temple. Joan guarded the idea of it. A sanctuary built not of stone, but of silence. By the dawn of the Renaissance, Joan of Navarre had faded into the quiet margins of history books. Her name became a footnote, her deeds wrapped in myth. Yet the imagery of a crowned woman with a shield persisted across Europe, appearing in stained glass, manuscripts, and knightly emblems. She became more than a monarch. She became a symbol of hidden guardianship. Artists of the 15th century painted her as a saintly figure, protector of the faithful, her shield glowing with divine light. In Portugal, where many Templars became the Order of Christ, tales of the Queen's Covenant survived among sailors who mapped the New World. Perhaps that was her truest legacy, the courage to protect knowledge when empires demanded obedience. History forgot her name, but legends remember her light, and through them, the Queen of the Shield still reigns. As the centuries pass, the story of Queen Joan of Navarre remains both history and haunting. She reminds us that power is not only forged in conquest, but in compassion. While kings burned men at the stake, she offered sanctuary. While faith was twisted into war, she turned it into refuge. Every shield reflects the one who holds it, and Joan's shield reflects courage against tyranny. Perhaps that's why her legend still endures among secret societies and dreamers alike, because she proved that even in an age of iron, a single act of mercy could outlast empires. The Templars may have vanished, but their spirit found its queen. And in the silence between history's pages, her story whispers still. Ask yourself, in a world of power and betrayal, who would you be? The king with the sword or the queen with the shield?